Today we are going to study the remaining part of the chapter 1 NCERT class 6 English, and the name of the chapter was The Best Christmas Present in the World. You remember that the narrator had found a letter which was written by Jim McPherson to his wife Mrs. Jim McPherson. So in the second part, the content of that letter is being told. What was written in that letter? Dearest Connie. So this letter was written to Mrs. Jim McPherson, whose name was Connie. I write to you in a much happier frame of mind. That means when the person is writing the letter, he is saying that as I am writing this letter, my mind is very, very happy. Because something wonderful has just happened. Because something here has happened wherever he was. There something wonderful had happened and he wanted to tell that to his wife. So he had written a letter. We all are standing into our trenches. Now this, I assume, that is about a soldier. So Jim McPherson is a soldier and he's saying that we all were standing in the positions of our trenches. Trenches is a kind of a groove that is dig on the ground so that the soldier is in the trench and he can only see the surface of the land, and that is why he's not visible to the enemy. And similarly, the enemy side also, the soldiers were standing in the trench. Then what happened? It was a Christmas morning. So obviously everybody's mood was of festivals, and only these soldiers were there standing looking at each other because they were enemies. It was crisp and quiet all about, as beautiful a morning I have ever seen, as cold and frosty as a Christmas morning should be. So it was an ideal Christmas morning, full of snow, full of frost, and we were able to feel the presence of Christmas time. I should like to be able to tell you, and then Jim McPherson says that I want to tell you, Connie, that we began it. But the fact is that I am ashamed. I did not begin it. It was Fritz who began it. Now Fritz is a name given to a German soldier. So we can also say Fritz as the soldiers of the German army. So he said that I would be happy to tell you that we began it, but the fact was the Germans began what I am going to tell you. He said that first someone saw a white flag waving from the trenches opposite. That means the British army was standing in the trench and they could see that from the other side they could see a white flag that was being waved. Now the significance of the white color is peace. So if we want to convey that we want peace, we can show a white flag. Similarly, the German army people, they were waving a white flag, and the British army could not understand that why are they doing such thing. Then they were calling out to us from across no man's land. Now between the two armies there is a space, there is a place which is called no man's land, which is neither of Germans and nor of the English people. So that is the no man's land, and from there they were shouting, "Happy Christmas, Tommy!" and "Happy Christmas, everybody, Happy Christmas." So they were shouting and wishing the other counterpart, the other counterpart, it's the wrong way of saying. We should say they were wishing their counterparts Happy Christmas. And when we had got over the surprise, some of us shouted back, "Same to you." And initially we were surprised because they were our enemies. But suddenly we just overpowered our surprise and we wished them back. And we said, "Happy Christmas to you too." And "Same to you, Fritz, same to you." I thought that would be that. And I thought that, okay, wishing each other Happy Christmas was the only thing that we are going to do. But suddenly they saw that few of them, they had come and in the no man's land, and they started shouting, don't shoot lads." Then they said that, "Keep your heads down." Who said? Jim McPherson, he was the captain, and he said that I told my men to keep their heads down because I thought that might be this is a trick. Might be they are trying to make us fall under a trap and then they will attack us. But nothing like this happened. One of the Germans was waving a bottle above his head. It's Christmas Day, Tommy. We have schnapps. Now schnapps is a drink. It's a German drink, and he said that we have schnapps. So let's celebrate Christmas. Please come out. Come on, boys. What are we waiting for? Come on. And then there was no stopping, and then I could not stop my men. Everybody started running towards the German people. Then what happened? All along their line and ours, I could see that men were walking towards each other. They were hugging, they were wishing, they were talking to each other, and they were enjoying and they were having a very good time. You cannot imagine, dearest Connie, in the last paragraph it says, my feelings as I looked into the eyes of the Fritz officer who approached me, hand outstretched. Outstretched, he just reached for my hand and he shook my hand and he said, I am from Dusseldorf. I play cello in the orchestra. And he introduced himself and he wished me Happy Christmas. So he was telling this to Connie. Then I also said that I am Jim Macpherson, and a very happy Christmas to you too. I am a school teacher from Dorset in the west of England. And then Jim Macpherson also introduced himself, and they both shook hand and they both wished each other Happy Christmas. Ah, Dorset, he smiled. I know this place. I know it very well. But the fact is that this German army man, he had never been to England. But all through his schooling, he had read a lot of books in English, and because of those books, he had a lot of knowledge about England and the different places that England has, and the kind of people there are, and the literature, everything he had read. He was a well-read man. And his favorite writer was Thomas Hardy. Whose favorite writer? The German officer's favorite writer was Thomas Hardy. And then they both discussed about the different books they read. Then they also discussed about their families. The German man, the soldier who approached Jim, he was married and he had a wife and he had one son who was 6 months old, who was just born. And they all were there in the position of a war. And then the whole day they sat there, all the people of the army from both the sides, they sat there, they drank, they ate, they talked to each other, they had a very good time. And Hans Wolf and I, the other man's name was Hans Wolf, and then Jim Macpherson, both of them ate a wonderful Christmas cake that was given by Connie. And then in the letter, Jim is saying that, he also tasted the cake and he liked the cake very, very much. And the icing, that the marzipan that you had put, the covering of the cake, which is made out of sugar and almonds, he liked it very much, and he said that I have never tasted something which is so delicious ever. Then we almost agreed about everything, and he was my enemy, and ironically he was my enemy, and I was sitting with him and I was enjoying the Christmas day. There was never a Christmas party like it, Connie. And then Jim Macpherson writes that I had never spent my Christmas so well till now. Then someone, I don't know who, brought out a football. And when they were all talking to each other, suddenly one of the men, he just came with a football and they all started playing. Then great coats were dumped in piles to make goalposts, and they both on both the sides they made goalposts. And the next thing we knew, it was Tommy against Fritz, out in the middle of no man's land, and that no man's land had immediately become a football field. Hans Wolf and I looked on and cheered, clapping our hands and stamping our feet and cheering our counterparts. And then we both started cheering the two men who were playing the football. I noticed our breaths mingling in the air between us. He saw it too and smiled. Jim Macpherson, he said after a while, I think this is how we should resolve this war. A football match. No one dies in a football match. No children are orphaned. No wives become widows. So then the German soldier, he told Jim McPherson that, don't you think that this is the way a war can be sorted out? Just a football match, a friendly match, whoever wins, wins, whoever loses, loses. At least no life is lost. No child becomes orphan and no wife becomes a widow. But then Jim McPherson, out of wits, he said that I would prefer cricket, because he loved cricket more. So he said I would prefer cricket, and then they both started laughing. Then we Tommies would be sure of winning. We laughed at that together and we watched the game. Sad to say, Connie, Fritz won. That means the German person who was playing, he won with 2 goals. But as Hans Wolf generously said, our goal was wider than theirs, so it wasn't quite fair. The time came, and all too soon, when the game was finished. The schnapps and the rum and the sausage had long since run out. Run out means they had all consumed everything. Nothing was left. I wished Hans well and told him I hoped he would see his family again soon, that the fighting would end and we could all go home. So everything was now over. They had had a great time and they both wished each other that we just hope that this war should get over and we all can meet our own families soon. And then I think that is what every soldier wants on both the sides. Hans Wolf said, "Take care, Jim McPherson, and I shall never forget this moment, nor you." He saluted and walked away from me slowly, unwillingly. Why unwillingly? Because they both knew that once they go back to their own trenches, the war will begin soon, and that is why they did not want that to happen. I felt he turned to wave just once and then became one of the hundreds of grey-coated men drifting back towards their trenches. And then I thought that he must have wanted to wave goodbye to me before he got mixed with all the grey coats. That means before he got mixed with the other German people. That night, back in our dugouts, we heard them singing a carol. Carols are the songs that are sung during Christmas. And then Jim McPherson is saying that the whole night we could hear that the Germans were singing carols for us and singing it quite beautifully. It was still harsh, silent night. Our boys gave them a rousing chorus of While Shepherds Watched. We exchanged carols for a while and then we all went silent. That means we all went off to sleep. We had our time of peace and goodwill, a time I will treasure as long as I live. And then Jim says that it was such a beautiful time that we had with each other that we will never forget this time ever until and unless we die. Dearest Connie, by Christmas time next year, this war will be nothing but a distant and terrible memory. I know from all that happened today how much both armies long for peace. We shall be together again soon, I am sure of it. Your loving, Jim. So Jim, in the end, he says that I am so sure that none of us wanted war and everybody was willing to have peace. But they could not do anything for it because they were told to be at war and they were following their duties. And he said that by the next year, this war shall be over and it will be nothing but a terrible dream, horrible dream that anybody can dream of. And I just wish that soon we will meet. And till then, your loving Jim. And then he ends the letter. So this part is over here and there are a couple of questions. We'll just go through them to check if we have understood this part of the chapter or not. The first question says, who had written the letter to whom and when? So now this letter was written by Jim McPherson to Mrs. Jim McPherson, whose name was Connie. Okay, and when he was at the war in the year 1914. Why was the letter written? what was the wonderful thing that had happened. So why was the letter written? Because Jim wanted to tell about that wonderful incidents that happened during the war time, when it was a Christmas day and the Germans came out from their trenches to be friendly with the Britishers and to play a match, and then to celebrate Christmas Eve by wishing each other. What jobs did Hans Wolff and Jim McPherson have when they were not soldiers? Hans Wolff was an artist who played cello in orchestra, and Jim McPherson was an English teacher. Okay, and then it says that had Hans Wolff ever been to Dorset? No, he had never been to Dorset. Why did he say he knew it? He said that he knew Dorset because he had read a lot about that place during his school days, and he was a well-read person. He had read a lot of English books, and his English was also very good. Do you think Jim McPherson came back from the war? How do you know this? Now, I don't think that Jim McPherson came back from the war because of that letter that was lost in that drawer. Okay, and since it was to be buried with Connie, but it was still lying there in the drawer, there must have been an accident that must have happened, and that we will come to know in the third part of this chapter. I hope you have understood the part 1 and part 2 of the chapter, The Best Christmas Present. I'll be back with the next video about the third part and the questions related to that portion. So till then, take care.